In this video we have an Akai stereo system, and this one was for sale for ages for $500 at the local tip shop. Several months I think it's been, and I actually looked at it. It's got a bit of rust on it, but other than that it's all a nice fluorescent display. But I sort of added up the components, it's all meant to work. I thought it's probably worth about $200 would be a fair price for it. And went in there today and it was actually dropped to $200, and I thought, oh well, I can't resist a good fluorescent display, so I'm going to grab it. No doubt it's going to need a bit of a service. Stuff, it's not in mint condition by any means. Bit of paint missing here and there, and the tops are a bit rusty. But it's quite a cool sort of unit. I doubt it's particularly high power, but we'll find out. It's saying something about a dual power supply on the DC stereo integrated amplifier, which is an AM-U04. The tuner, FM/AM stereo digital synthesizer tuner, which is an ATV04, and the cassette Super GX twin field GX head. I think they used to have, is that the glass head or something they had in these things? GX-M10 ADR system, not sure what that is. Automatic something system. Oh, is that an automatic program search? Program clear. Don't know if that's a little display in there. IPSS. So it's got an auto system of some sort. Nice fluorescent peak meters. Well, I hope they are. They should be. And so we'll have a look and see what the story is. I don't know anything about it. I sort of impulse bought it. I sort of looked at it and thought, oh, is it worth even $200? I thought, I can't really lose my money on it. I don't think you could really make much money on it. But at that price, might as well grab the thing. So we'll have a look at each component individually. I think, well, I guess we could plug these in and see if they at least light up. Maybe if it had the turntable or something, it could have been $500, but I doubt that. So we've got a figure 8 cable on the cassette, and 3 core cables on the other two. Let's fire up. Oh, there it is. A little slow to come on, I think, but yeah, fluoro display. Oh, this one's already on. That was that going click, I guess. So at least we got power on them. Yeah, that's interesting. Takes a little while for the display to come on the tuner. It looks, is it a little faded, or is that just my imagination? No, I don't think it's too bad. Doesn't seem quite as blue as expected. The interesting thing will be whether the tape deck actually functions. Very slow to get going, but it does have take up. I bet that doesn't have much torque. But you never know, it might be in really good condition. How do we change band there? Again, a bit of a blank period, but that must just be what it does. So yeah, nice displays on it. Meter, you've got 0.1 mode or not. 0.1 or 1 mode. So nice green LEDs for the inputs, and that's for the record select. Oh yeah, red for record. So that's quite well set up, although the tuner, what do we, oh, off. I can say there's something missing there, but it's just an off position. That LED doesn't look quite as good. Maybe it's been changed for a different colour one. Always something. Filters, speakers A and B. At least if that clicks in, it means the amp isn't shot as far as DC on the output or anything. So quite a nice system. It's got the 19-inch rack type mounts on the end. Possibly you can take them off. Yeah, it looks like they all come off. Oh, yeah, it's got the old $500 label here. 19th of the 5th. And it's 18th of the 8th now. So almost to the day, 3 months. But yeah, that was very ambitious of them. If it was fully serviced, and let's say maybe had the turntable with it, no rust, not a mark on the thing, maybe 500, I think you'd be pushing your luck even then. People would prefer to pay for some little 15 watt or less amplifier from the 70s or something than get one of these latest systems. I would much prefer some of this latest stuff. A lot nicer looking and got a bit of power. So maybe we'll start with the tune. I guess we should start with the amp, I don't know, but that's the top of them. Dirty, rusty. Not sure what the tuner's like. That was actually quite good. I thought that was okay. So the rest of the system though really needs a respray. That is pretty bad, the amp. So as soon as someone sees that too, they're going to wonder what it's like inside. Looks like it might actually be a liquid cord heatsink. I get a feeling, don't know if they actually had liquid in these, but I think they might have. The way the ends have been soldered onto it, I think it might have circulated around. Put the lid off it and see if it is actually any good inside, as in corrosion free. Yeah, I think I'm going to take this off to get the cover off anyway. And more just for show, these things really, maybe they're even an accessory, but we could just leave these off. Quite a solid bit of aluminium, Akai MH2 mounting handle or something, and that is the beauty. You can lift with that black rubber part on them. You can lift them up from the front, which is great if you're a roadie with your home stereo system, but like I say, more a gimmick I think, because most people never moved around. Now, do we have screws in the back? Doesn't. Oh, there's two in the back. Quite a solid feeling amp, but that doesn't mean a lot. Now we've got pre-out and main in. Let's have a look at the back of it, I guess. Let's see what's on the back of this thing. Got 3 outlets, switched outlets, or 1 unswitched, 2 switched. Got the little push button type dual speaker output, made in Japan. Got a DIN for play record on tape 1 as well as RCAs. At least these look in good condition. Tape 2 in and out, auxiliary, phono and tuner. Looks like there's some fuses located somewhere. And pre-out main in, which is always a nice feature if you want to plug a graphic equalizer in or something. So not a low-end amp in that sense. There's our fuses, well, look at they set the transformer voltage, and we've got STK0050 Mark II amp chips and one of these pre-drivers, voltage amplifier, STK3042. So that might be a bit on the downside for this thing, depending whether you can still get those or not. And the Alps power switch that they used to use in a lot of Sony televisions. It'll be interesting to see exactly what date this is. Whether it's late 70s, early 80s, probably an early 80s. A little bit of rust on there. Paint's starting to flake a little bit. But the rest of it looks to be in good condition, thankfully. Yeah, dual protection relays. Oh, someone's been in here because I can see some TKR caps from Wagner Electronics. Yeah, actually quite a few of them. So this has been serviced. So that's something. Oh, we've got a pair there. Yeah, actually, oh, that one's bulging on top, so that's a worry. So one of the new caps has what looks like a bulge on top. They definitely all want checking. What have we got? 250K. Oh, that's the volume control. Yeah, beautiful feeling. Volume control, nice and smooth. Substantial feeling thing, but it's got this great big slider pop thing in there. I don't think I've seen one of those before. couple of large wafer switches for the inputs. Yeah, decent sized transformer. We can look at what those power amps are actually rated at. Hopefully someone's redone the solder joints in this thing as well. At least the bottom cover's mint, so it's kind of weird. It's the back panel and the bottom are mint, but the top's rusty, so who knows how this thing was stored to get like that. But would have been in someone's garage or something. But we'll check it out. I can see already some fresh looking solder joints in here. Looks like someone's gone over it, I'm guessing. So this thing probably has been serviced at some point. I think we can say without a doubt. Yeah, I think they've resoldered those bits. Not so sure some of those joints here, I think some have been done. Still wants a good inspection. Yeah, that all looks good. And the fact there's an X on the board possibly means the output's been changed. It looks like a transistor may have been changed there. But that channel's probably been faulty at some stage. That's an AM-U04 on the back. It says AM-U4001 on the board. AM-U4002, AM-U4003, so it's not the model, it's just the probably what's an 04, I think it would be 4001 board, 02 and 03 board probably, but yeah, at least that's in good condition. That did worry me a bit as to whether it had water in it or anything, and there's still dust on here, little tiny bit of corrosion there. But nothing's been right through this thing, so that's a good sign. But yeah, I think these are going to have to be sanded back and resprayed. I guess it could be a good time to change the colour a bit. It's not the nicest, but no doubt it's almost like an undercoat colour which people buy their cars in these days. So it's probably back in fashion really. I think we'll plug this into some speakers and plug a signal into it and see what it sounds like. Yeah. Now I know the relays, we've got no speakers in, that went click. Oh, we're actually on that input, are we? No. Yeah, it's got a mid-range, don't see that on many amplifiers other than like guitar amps and stuff. And we've got a loudness control. That's a bit scratchy. only scratchy thing on the whole thing is this loudness control. Let's just turn the power off a minute. Hopefully, it's all down in this thing here, get in through those holes in the back. Give it a good flood of contact cleaner. Slightest noise when you change, but mostly just a change in loudness. Probably may have always had a slight click there, but nowhere near as bad as it was. So I guess the dual power supplies, there's two 6800 mic caps on each side. Are they completely separate rails from the transformer? I doubt it, but possibly. Another thing I just noticed, looks like someone's removed the glue from them. Must have had brown glue on those two transistor heatsinks. It's a little bit corroded on the base of them. But hopefully someone's saw that ages ago and got rid of it. I don't see any glue there, just a little bit of remaining corrosion. Might be worth pulling those out. Where are they exactly? Oh, they're under this bit. Yeah, looks like someone's resoldered them. So it might be worth taking that bracket off and taking them off and just cleaning them again properly. Now where are these caps going by that wire? They don't actually seem to go between channels, surprisingly, but there must be some connection here somewhere. That's the common. Oh, there's the transformer connections. I can see them there. And there's another set there. Is that what they are? Well, there's at least some mounting posts there. Yeah, triple connections there, and triple. So we've got the blue. No, white, black. I suspect they do go between the two sides. Oh, yes, there's a bridge rectifier on each side, but it looks like it's probably the same AC just looped between them. But that's a bit more than you normally get. So two bridge rectifiers, separate filter caps. They got some caps across the bridge rectifier, ceramic caps by the look of it. So kind of isolated, but I wouldn't have thought they'd use two different windings out of the transformer. That would be going a bit far. But they are largely separate supplies. And I want to check what that cap is there, because it definitely looks bulgy topped. I wonder if someone put the wrong voltage in. One mic. Is that a 250 volt? God, what on earth's that feeding off? Might look the circuit up for this thing. Might be the best thing if it's online. And we'll be able to see exactly what is going on there. Possibly it could do with some higher quality caps in there. There's a few that haven't been changed. They've done one channel there, but not the other one near the chip. And yeah, we do have a separate transistor there and IC. Is that an IC? Like a preamp IC. That probably goes back here to the... Oh, that's actually a display driver chip down there. So that's what that high voltage cap would be for, more likely. It's probably feeding the display, not the audio. I've got the circuit of the level display, fluorescent level meter thing, or the parts driving it. The display's over there somewhere. And we've got these two caps. One comes from each channel, basically. They haven't bothered labeling all this because it's just another channel of the same stuff. And for some reason, someone has put in a 250 volt cap in one, and I haven't actually checked the voltage of the other, but I assume it's just a 63 volt or less. So they basically just come off the amplifier outputs, the speaker outputs basically, So I'm not sure where you'd be getting a voltage that could cook that capacitor, and the fact they put a high voltage one in there would suggest they've had problems with it before. And there, these two things over here, they basically feed into this. You can see the two trim pots that set the level meters, which on the board I've put a couple of black dots. One goes across this way. There's an inductor coming from the speaker output there. And I think that's our protection relay there. Yeah, should be two relays. And there's another inductor over here, I think, which, yeah, I'll check comes back to this other cap, which actually I put that black dot in the wrong spot there. Let's get rid of that one because it's, I thought it was going that way. And then it looked like it was hooked up wrong. And then I found out it's going across that way. You just can't really see that from above. So there's one cap across there, one cap across here, and that's the 240 volt one, this front one. So why they have put a high voltage one in, let's try and get this thing going. I just want to measure the voltages on it, see if that does anything. So yeah, be interested if there's any weird DC voltages here. Was it bulged by a previous fault or something? It's got about 8 volts across it. And that's exactly the same. So should there be any DC on there? Definitely nothing on the speaker outputs. But that's probably why they have them there, is to block some DC. So that must be coming from the chips themselves. Yeah, that's the other side of the pot. Yeah, about 8 volts. These resistors or something. That's something else, 19 volts. So it's a 90 volt rail. I mean, you'd expect 45 volts there, geez. You'd expect some high voltage around the actual fluorescent displays themselves. So that transistor's dropping about 20 volts. Could something have happened here that's fed a higher voltage back that way? Because, you know, the negatives on the speaker side, positives on the, I just checked that they had put it in the right way. On the display side, so coming in into this TA75458, now that would be ground, I would think. So it's transistor to ground, transistor to ground. Oh, really, it's probably only that IC. We've got 3.6K, 6.8K, 1.2K. And there's 100 ohm there, so if that transistor gets turned fully on, assuming there's a higher voltage here, guess we'll have to check that. We can get a 100 ohm resistor through a transistor, through a diode, 470 ohm, but still a 4.7K. Doesn't mean you couldn't get quite a high voltage. Now, are they even on the board? Are they, I think that IC's, oh no, maybe it is there. Is that something there? Yeah, there is a chip there. Single inline package there. But still, you're still not going to get, there's nothing in this amp that could blow a 250 volt capacitor with over voltage. Now maybe reverse polarity. Eight volts, that's probably one of them. 8 volts. 8. If this is the driver IC, this doesn't seem right. It's all 8 volts. Everything's 8 volts. No, 20 volts there. So it's a 9-pin chip. Yeah, 9-pin chip. Yeah, pin 1's not used, so that's pin 2 there. We know that because pin 1 isn't used. That's pin 9 or something. It's got 20 volts on it, which, yeah, is the B+, I would guess. Yeah, I don't know why that cap is cooked. I just find it interesting that it is cooked and it's a higher voltage one. rather strange setup, but let's see what else have they done. Any other weird, did they just happen to have a high voltage cap and it just happened to end up in that position? I can't even read what the other one is. Yeah, 63, that's what most people just buy, a 63 and stock that. There's no point having multiple voltages in stock, you just get the higher one because they're all the same package size. Could you have had DC on the output and the... So I guess that could have got fried because someone blew one of the chips or something. And someone didn't notice that it was a bit bulgy. Maybe it wasn't obviously bulgy at the time and there was DC on the output, which would then be reverse polarity. That wouldn't be over voltage, but... So it could have been a fault in the amp, which at least put a reverse polarity voltage on that. So to overheat them and upset them, you really got to have over voltage or reverse polarity. The higher voltage cap in there makes me think someone's had issues maybe, like I said, it's just coincidence and they ran out of the proper voltage right at that cap. You never know. Yeah, one mic, 250 volt. I'm tempted just to put a 63 in there and see what it does. I did get some Rubicon caps, so we can say we're giving it a Rubicon cap upgrade. Now, are they even marked? That is kind of marked as a negative lead, I think. I think there's a bit of extra green on one side, but we know it's the side that's not the trim pot. So the side on the amp output is the negative side of the cap. Well, let's put that in there. I don't see how it can really be getting too much voltage. Definitely some joints around that transistor could do with resoldering. That's the voltage regulator for the, I think that's what it is for the displays. It's got 40 in and not 20 out. That must be what it does. But I don't think even issues there would cause that sort of thing. But yeah, if we get reverse polarity, I guess maybe there's some weird way. Yeah, this is the channel. The one with the X on it is the one with the dodgy cap on it. So was it to mark it's the one with the dodgy cap? Is it to mark that something went wrong with this? You never know, there might be some weird fault in this thing. But I really wouldn't mind getting this thing hooked up and giving it a run. Just to see what it's like, because it sounds like it's quite a nice amp. Okay, this volume control feels quite nice, but it's a little sticky depending how you hold it. But there is a bar that runs on, so I'm guessing a bit of oil or grease on that will improve things. I guess we can try a little bit of oil and see what that does. unless it's the actual pot itself, but hopefully not. Yeah, it's still a little bit dodgy. So could it be the actual control? Feels like it's scraping on that bar though. So maybe oil's the wrong thing. Maybe we need some grease. Clean the old stuff off, I guess. I think there's a little bit of, yeah, there's a bit of grotty stuff on there, so maybe it needs a good clean. Then a re-lube. Certainly can't hurt. But unfortunately these things sometimes wear a bit and don't run as smoothly as intended. I can see why it feels nice to do that now though, when it does slide. But yeah, it seems to drag a bit more depending how you hold it. If it tilts a bit, put a little bit of grease on there. Maybe it even needs a bit on the other plastic. Certainly feels a bit better than it did. I think it actually slides on the top bit here. And probably bottom other side as well. Seems a bit better. Well, now I can do it single-handed. So that's a lot better. Let's try it the right way up. Yeah, it's definitely better than before. It's a little bit still jerky, but that's an improvement. Let's get out on all parts if we can. It's a bit random, that's for sure. If you lift it up, seems to make it worse. Push it down. Not perfect. Just bend that ever so slightly. Different every time. Maybe it gets some getting used to. And one interesting thing I found out is I looked those handles up online, and yeah, there's the two sizes. The tuner's got like a half height. The amp and tape deck, are they actually the same height on those? But people are asking around $40 a pair for them, and I did find some in Europe that sold for around $100 for a set of two half size and one full size one. So I may have got at least half my value out of this in handles. So I could always flog them off and get some of my money back and then keep the rest maybe. But it looks like there is a market for them. Someone's got a set for $40 on eBay, but they're black coloured ones, because some of these amps did come out in black. I think Hi-Fi Engine's picture of this amp might actually have a black one, or one of the units, because I did look them up to see what year they're from and whether there was any service info, which they did have, and some user manuals and stuff. So I might put this thing back together and give it a good run. That's definitely better than it was. It was quite jerky. Still a bit of a weird volume control to use. I'm not sure how you're meant to fully use it. Whether you put your thumb on it and slide it, or whether you put one on each end. It certainly slides nicely when you press the ends, but when you start tilting it from the middle, probably takes a little bit of getting used to. And yeah, let's see if we can get this to look a little bit better here. That almost wants taken off and respraying as well, but how you'd get that finish on it, I don't know. I've given it a bit of a clean up, looks better than it did. And yeah, definitely gonna have to give that, probably should give it a clean anyway, but that's gonna need some work to the paint, like complete respray. Sometimes you can polish a bit of this rust off and make it look a bit better. So you'll probably be cutting back to bare metal, which of course will go rusty again, given a chance. I don't think anyone's even tried to clean this thing, which is pretty slack. Maybe a bit of cut and polish type stuff will work. Let's just put a bit of metal polish on some of that rust, and that should eat the rust off. Definitely coming off on the rag. But having anything bare metal would look better than rust like that. Probably going to drop a bit of paper down there, which is not ideal. So often this will take back some of the worst of it, where the rust tends to spread out onto the surrounding metal a bit, and yeah, it's definitely doing that. And it minimises the rust patches. And generally, if your paper's going orange, then you're taking the rust off. And that already looks a lot less harsh than up there. Let's just clean it off though and make sure I'm not just leaving polish over the top of it. And yeah, so some polish in the slots there. Yeah, that already looks quite a bit better besides that patch. Look at that, almost instantly gets rid of about 50% of it. And with a bit more work, possibly could even use a bit of fine sandpaper or something, because this is only light duty sort of polish. I would be tempted, since there's nothing to lose, to actually sandpaper this a bit if I could find my fine sandpaper, which I don't think I can easily. I must buy a bit more if only I could remember when I'm in the hardware store. It's not like it's expensive, it's just remembering it when you don't immediately need it. Yeah, a bit of methylated spirits on some scourer even does a harsher job. Yeah, it'll probably leave the paint a bit harsher underneath it too, but that's actually getting back to almost metal there where the rust was. But it'll probably take a bit of paint with it as well. This is what's going to have to happen anyway, because I'm going to sand this back, I think, and respray it. At least in the meantime it doesn't look like a complete piece of junk. Yeah, that's going back through, that's getting the rust off at least. But there's only bare metal under the rust, of course, because it wouldn't be rusting otherwise. Not as bad as that patch was. But yeah, it's not exactly mint, but it looks quite a bit better than it did. Yeah, it's a lot more respectable than it was. It just looked horrible. Quite a bit better, at least. It's not as disgusting as it was, even though it's cutting down into the metal a bit. Let's see, should we put those handles back on? I guess I probably should. So I guess the decision is, what is better? Better to get the whole thing on the screen. But that's it, without handles. That's more my preference, I think. And where do they go exactly? Something like that. That's what it looks like with the handle. So each end has this sort of chunky bit sticking out. I might even leave them off for now. I actually think I prefer it without it. It kind of looks more rugged or something. Unless they are actually they're actually a really good design, because you can get your fingers under this bit. So if you want to lift this thing around, I have to say ergonomically it's quite a good design. What does it say on here? But if you're not carrying it around, I think I prefer the more basic look. Caution. Securely affix the handles on the unit using the screws provided. And then a couple of other languages. Well, obviously, I guess that's the case of what you would want to do. But yeah, they certainly are designed, you can get your hands right up under there. Really nice positive grip. Yeah, I have to decide on the whole system, I think. I think for now I'll leave them off, just to make it a bit smaller. And obviously it needs to come with a set of longer screws. So maybe if I find some other silver screws like that, I'll consider getting rid of the handles. I don't know. Depends what I do with this thing, I guess. We could sell it for different prices with or without the handles. But if this amp sounds pretty good, I'll be very tempted to keep it, I think. And maybe the tuner, just as a display piece. Cassette player, not so much, but I'll be interested to see what that auto track finder or whatever it is on that cassette player is. But I'm never going to listen to tape again, so I'm certainly not going to do anything serious with it. Yes, that's got it on the screen already down there. That's without. And I guess we might be able to adjust. Got to work out where they sit, but they do just sit right there, I think. Flush up with the ends of it. Yeah, it gives it quite a different look, I've got to say. So yeah, without, it's just your standard, looks like every other amplifier out there. With them on, looks quite different. But yeah, unless you're on the road, there's no practical reason for them. But I guess it certainly makes the system stand out from every other one out there. Well, I've given this thing a good run last night for several hours, and must say, yeah, it's really my sort of amp, this one. Nice and bassy. I actually had to turn the bass back a bit, which is the first time on any amplifier in history, I think. Now, I did turn the treble and stuff up. Loudness had it completely off, and it's still, I'm running through some 15-inch realistic Mark II speakers, so very bassy speakers. And this thing just delivered beautiful amount of power, heaps of bass. So for sort of electronic dance music and metal and stuff I like to listen to, this is really made for it, this amp. Quite a big unit with the depth on it, and it weighs quite a bit, but I think I might keep this one, at least use it for a while. I've just been using a couple of 70s amplifiers, And while they sound perfectly fine, especially on sort of lighter music, they just don't have the power and the bass if you want to listen to some louder style of music. But certainly perfectly fine on pop and stuff, and yeah, the sort of trancey electronic music I listen to, it's actually pretty good with a lot of sort of lighter melodic stuff and female vocals and stuff. Sounds absolutely fine, but when you want a bit of beefier music, it's nice to have power again. And yeah, if anything, like I say, this thing's probably a little bit too full on the bass, but of course you've got adjustments on the front for all that. So I turned it down a little bit, and yeah, it really comes out of those Tandy speakers really well. And I just took the cover off this and checked the capacitor, and it still looks fine with that 63 volt. But I'll keep an eye on that. I guess it'll probably blow its top if something does go wrong, but I can't see any reason other than it's had a previous fault or something. Or maybe there was a fault in that capacitor. It is possible, but kind of odd that it was that different voltage. Like someone had known there was an issue there or something. So I'll keep an eye on that, and I'll see if I can find a similar matching colour of spray paint at Bunnings or somewhere, because it would be really nice to get this cover coated again. And the cassette needs doing as well, and probably best to do the tuner the same colour as well so they all match. Because I'll probably, like I say, keep the amp and maybe the tuner to go with it. I'm going to have to, because there's volume control, the amps I currently got, I'm sitting sort of sideways, so I can just reach around the front and, you know, feel for the volume control and adjust it. This one's a lot harder to find. It's not totally bad, but I would like, because it's got this nice display on it, which looks really good, the green LED, the display looks much nicer than the 70s amp, which have nothing on the front besides the power lights. So I might set up my, and I've been meaning to put something in for a turntable to sit on so I can have one of those set up. So I'll put a whole new table in or something, or make something up so I can see this amp from the front. So it's on the side of me, I can just turn and see the front of it rather than having to reach round to my side with its sort of side on, the same facing the same way I am. And I think that'll be a lot better, and I can put a turntable, because of the size of this, could actually put one on top. It doesn't run too hot, which is good. Like most of these older amps, it, you know, had a bit of heat coming out of it after a few hours, but you're nothing like some of the later amps that run really, really hot. I'll have to do a temperature comparison one of these days between an old and new one. Those 70s type amps really don't get warm at all, so they're actually brilliant on not wasting power and stuff. But you could possibly put a turntable, usually they've got pretty good feet on them, so you could sit that on top of this or beside it. And yeah, I think I'll just keep this one for now. Certainly needs a good test run anyway. And I'll get back on a couple of the older amps I got, the Technics, I forget what model it was that I did a video on. I found that a couple of the input sockets on that are dodgy. The main ones I was using are fine, but if you start plugging in a video or something extra to listen to a DVD or something, you're getting at least one of the channels dropping out, possibly both. And I looked at the Hitachi one. Someone was asking about the quality of the phono input. I still haven't actually tried the phono input on it, but I've ran the amp and given that a good run lately. That's a lot bassier than the Technics, which is more a sort of pop music type amplifier, maybe classical music or something, but definitely lacking in the bass department. Just a very sort of high frequency type amp, I guess you could say. If you like your music without thuddy bass and stuff, it'd be the perfect amp. And the Hitachi, that's more bassy, but certainly not as bassy as this one. Hitachi was definitely better sounding, but what I found with that is it had an intermittent issue with distortion in one channel, and flicking the loudness switch seemed to fix it at first, and it would come back every time you turned it on pretty much, and then it sort of went away, and then it came back a little bit, and I think the loudness switch didn't fix it, but some other control I turned near it got it fixed again. So it's either got a dry joint or dodgy switch, or maybe some other thing, maybe a couple of dodgy controls. I can't remember if I squirted any cleaner into everything on that one. So we'll get that back on the bench and have a look. And yeah, if I can get this tidied up and the turntable mounted next to it, at least I can just throw that Hitachi on top of this one, swap the speakers and input over. And yeah, it'd be nice and easy to do. Then I might even get one of those speaker selector switches so I can plug different amps in easily, because they always need a good test run, these older amps. But this one performed perfectly, not a single issue with it whatsoever. So we'll see if that's the longer term case, but I always like to give these old amps a good run for, you know, weeks. The best thing is just to use them and run them for a few weeks at least, because they've always seemed to have some dodgy RCA socket or something on them somewhere. This one's a really nice amp, so that'll be it for the video on this one, I think, and maybe unless I cover painting it again or something, or if I find any issues. So I'll have a look at the tuner and cassette player as well. I've already started on the cassette player, and we'll do a video. I don't know if I'll do a video on the whole series or do each part separately, but if I do them separately, that'll be the lot for this one. So thanks for watching.